What's going on, guys? Caleb here at Speed Industry. Today we have Charles Deep Space Wrap Supra, as you've seen in our last video, and we're installing an APR Racing front splitter. Today we're just going to be going over a little bit more of the tips and tricks on how to install the splitter, because there's already a couple videos out there. There's a few things that are a little bit tedious, kind of difficult to nail down on the first try. So we're just going to go over some of those things, make the install a little bit easier for you, and we've already gone ahead and got the bumper off, since it's a little bit difficult. And then we'll go ahead and get it back on and then button everything up and we'll take a look at how it looks. All right, guys, so the first thing I want to go over is that this APR Racing front splitter is a little bit different than like your normal like BRZ front splitter or like standard car where you just kind of drill some holes in the bumper, drill some holes in the splitter, slap it on and put some rods on. Because of the way the concavity is on the Supra, there's actually these little spacers that are included with the kit. So you are going to have to separate the bumper and the splitter, slide these spacers in, and then you're going to put the bolt through the bumper and attach the nut on the other side. Same with the splitter rods. It's not as black and white as some of the other splitter placements where it's just only one way to lay the splitter rod. With this option, we gave Charles the option of having the splitter rods a little bit more neutral, up and down, outwards or inwards for a little bit more aggressive look, and Charles opted to go with a more neutral up and down look, which was my preference as well. We're going to flip around to the back so I can give you a few more tips on that, because it is a little bit difficult to drill. You are going to have to drill into your bumper as well as the splitter, so you want to make sure it's right, and then I'll show you what we did to make sure we got that correct. So here we're in the back of the bumper. Here's the splitter down on the bottom. To line up the splitter rods from the back, they provide a washer. You're going to use the washer to line up the top of the splitter rods here. It's not something that can move around and adjust, so once you butt the washer up to the bumper, you're just going to mark that hole and drill the top. So the top is easy. Once you get to the bottom, that's where things get a little bit more difficult. You do have to remove the bottom and sides of the front grills so that you can access those bolts on the bottom. It's not very difficult. You just use a flathead screwdriver and you depress the clips here. You can pull those grills off and then you can access the bolts. The last part before we get the bumper back on the car is that there's actually some brackets along the side here. These brackets pull the splitter up and they make it where it matches the OEM front bumper garnish here. And it gives it a more clean and aggressive look. Those brackets you do also have to measure out and drill as well. So in the instruction manual, they provide the measurements. It's 2 inches back and about 3/8 inches over from the side of the splitter. You do want to make sure that you take your time on these measurements, because if you do drill incorrectly here, you'll mess up the fitment and it won't line up. You'll have to either have multiple holes or get a new splitter. It'll basically be ruined. Next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to get the bumper back on the car and we're going to get everything buttoned back up, and then we'll get back to you guys when it's on the car. All right, guys, so before we put the bumper back on, the last thing is that the APR front splitter actually replaces the OEM dust cover. So there's going to be 9 8mm bolts that run across the front here, 3 in the front, 2 on the side, and then 1 right here located next to the front sway bar. Once we take those off, we're going to go ahead and pull that part off. We'll get the bumper back on, bolt everything back up, and then we'll take a look at how the car looks with the splitter on. Alrighty, guys, so we got the car back on the ground. The splitter is all buttoned up. So the last final things that we did, we left off, we were bolting the splitter back to where the OEM dust tray is, because this does act as a replacement for that dust tray. It does bolt in the original OEM spot, so you don't need any extra washers or hardware. You just reuse the OEM hardware. The last final touch that you don't want to forget is to tighten these lock nuts on the splitter rod. If you leave these loose, eventually over time the rod will loosen out and the rod will fly off. And it could cause damage to your car or somebody else's. But other than that, this thing is really sturdy. It's not a chassis mounted front splitter, so you're not going to stand on it or anything like that, but it will provide some downforce, and it looks amazing. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing out of the rack outside and take some cool shots and let you guys see what it looks like on the car.